Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? I see. All right. I'm good. Looks like we're missing quite a few people. So we'll give another minute or so for people to kind of trickle on in. One thing I just want to mention before I do begin is I do got some people working on my house right now, and they're on the roof, so you might hear some loud banging. And if they come to the door or something, I might just need to step away. Probably no more than 5 minutes. So if I just say, I'll be right back, just hang tight. And I apologize for any inconvenience. I'm not sure when they're going to be done or not, but just in case it happens, I'd figure I'd give you guys the warning now, just in case. Second announcement, I posted the assignment on Google Classroom, which was this one. It was exactly this page right here, even with my writing up there. Again, you don't need to print it out. If you prefer, that's fine. And if you're someone who likes a decent amount of room, I would suggest don't print it out because you'll have a lot more room on a scrap sheet of paper. So that's up to you. And I think you'll be able to do some of them already. By the end of today, we're just going to practice some 3 examples. And I might even do 1 or 2 from here, like number 10, maybe 9. Maybe get those really challenging ones out of the way. I don't think you'd ever be asked to do anything that challenging. I always like to put harder ones on here that you'd be asked to do. Because if you can do the harder ones, then you can easily do the easy ones. But that's the plan for today. I don't think we'll spend the entire stream doing the equation of the circle because we only have 3 examples here where we're going to graph them, and then we can kind of start doing our first proofs with circles. We got plenty of proofs to do, and I think it's the last part of your packet until you get your new packet at sometime in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later. So if there's any questions on the assignment, just shoot me a message on Remind, or post it in Google Classroom, email me, or bring your questions on Thursday. Because remember, tomorrow there will not be a stream. There is a faculty meeting for all staff, so I will be doing that. So no stream tomorrow, which is fine, but we'll pick it right back up on Thursday. So bring your questions. Definitely get a head start on the assignment. That way you can bring those questions on Thursday because that assignment is going to be due on Friday, which is mentioned in the description on Google Classroom. All right. So I think that's all the general announcements that I have. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. And we'll get started. Looks like we're still missing a lot of people today. This is one of the lowest. I don't know where everyone is. But that's alright. We'll get started for the dedicated few. The goal to all of these problems is the same. Find the center, find the radius. And then we will graph it too. Now, I don't expect you to have a compass at home. If you do, awesome. If you don't, you're just going to freehand it. It is not usual where we graph circles anyway, because you need a compass. Graphing lines is a lot easier because you can just, use any straight edge. Circles are going to be a little bit more challenging. But, feel free to freehand it, when we are ready to graph the circle. But that's kind of the whole point of these equations, right? It's, they are representations of a graph. Just like a line, y equals mx plus b. Like 2x plus 1, you know the y-intercept is 1, slope is 2. This is also a graph of some sort. We know it's going to be a circle based on the form. It's not obvious it's going to be a circle. When you get into more advanced mathematics, especially beyond trig, you go into pre-calculus and calculus, it's not obvious that this equation is in fact going to be a circle. You can start learning about other shapes that exist, like ellipses and stuff like that, which is an oval. It's not incredibly obvious, but for our sake, because we're doing the circle, we know it's going to be a circle. There is no second y term, which is confusing. You're right, there is no second y term. So what does that mean? That's actually going to be a good indication of some of the things that are kind of going on in this problem. Let's take a look. Because there's two x terms but no y term, which is interesting. You kind of expect that to be a negative 6y, and you might even think, is that a typo? Well, it probably not. It's probably intended to be a negative 6x. Because remember, the first step is get all your x and y terms on one hand, on the left-hand side. Get all your numbers on the right-hand side. So there's some x terms, which we could combine, and that's what we're going to do. Plus 4x minus 6x is going to be negative 2x. We have a y here, x there. That's good. But I'm going to get rid of this 9 and put it on the other side. So it's going to make it a 27 on the other side. But I'm also going to rearrange my equation. I'm still going to start off with x squared. I'm going to combine what I have in yellow and call that plus 2x. So I've done this term. I've combined these two. Then we're going to do all the y terms, but there's only the 1. And we've got rid of that 9, so it's equal to 27. That's how you want to have it written out. X terms first, y terms second, all numbers to the right. So this is the indication that, well, if there's no b term to the y piece, this is an indication that the y coordinate is 0. You do not need to do any completing the square if there is no second y term. Oh, yes, it would be negative 2x. I figured I'd get my one mistake out of the way early, right? But because there's no b term to a y, so there's no like plus 2y, plus 3y, or anything like that, the y coordinate is going to be 0. So you only need to complete the square once with the x term, and that's what we're going to do. So let's see. We're going to do negative 2 over 2, because this is the b term right here. So we're completing the square with these two. I can kind of bracket them off so you see what I am doing. So negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. If you remember, that's going to be the factors. So it's going to be x minus 1. And x minus 1 has the two factors. But don't forget to square it. And this step is very important. Just because you know the factors doesn't mean you should skip this step. Because, yes, completing the square, one of the important pieces is to find the factors. But you still need to know what to add to both sides, because that number is going to add to the radius, which in this case is 1. So I'm going to write that out. It's x squared minus 2x. I'm going to add the 1 with the x's. So notice I'm adding the 1 before I rewrite the y squared, because I want to keep kind of that number with the x terms, because that is the trinomial I would be factoring. Then it's plus y squared, no completing the square with y, so it's equal to 27, and we added 1 to both sides of the equation. So now when I'm factoring, you're factoring this, and you technically be factoring the y term, but there's nothing to factor, so you're just going to leave it. And we know that x squared minus 2x plus 1 factors into, we just said it earlier, x minus 1 and x minus 1. So I write it as x minus 1 squared plus y squared equals 28. And that is our equation to the circle. So, what are the coordinates to the center? Don't forget to flip the coordinates. The center, because the equation says -1, that means the center is +1. Y coordinate's easy, that's 0. And the radius is the square root of 28, which I'm going to put as a decimal in this case because I am graphing it. And anytime you're graphing it, it's probably better to view it as a decimal. So 28 square rooted is 5.29. I'll just near it round its nearest tenth, about 5.3. So for graphing that, the center, I'm going to put a point where the center would be. There's 1, 0, and then 5.3. So the best way to do it, if you have a compass, you only need to go, 5.3, either up, down, left, or right. And you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's about 5.3. I know we're graphing a decimal, so it's not exact, but it's just over 5 units away, because that would be the radius. If you're graphing it by hand, though, and you don't have a compass available, go 5.3 in every direction. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have these 4 points, and you can do your best to draw a circle around those points right here. And that will be kind of your best way. Hey, my circle came out pretty good. I'll take it. But the radius is just over 5, so you just want to make sure that you definitely go a little over 5. But that is the circle we would graph. If you have a compass, you only need to do 1 point. Then you put the point on the center. Then you stretch out the pencil to the point, and then you just draw a circle. Your circle looks like a kindergartner's circle. Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything you guys could use. I mean, if you find any circular object and just, like a bottle cap. It looks more like a diamond. Yeah, that's not good. Alright, let's try number 2. So I'm going to view the equation, and let's see some of the things. Notice how I always kind of take in what's in front of me, especially because the equation of circles, look how many terms there are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 terms right here, and you got to know what to do with each one. First thing I notice as I read it from left to right, x squared then x term. That's great. That's exactly what I want, in that order. Y squared and y term, also in that order. Nothing to combine. 74, don't like that there. That's the thing we're going to have to take care of. And then the 4 on the right-hand side. Just make sure on the right-hand side that there's no x terms, because if there's x and y terms, you'll have to bring them over and combine. We don't need to do that. We only have really one thing we need to do, which is subtract both sides by 74. So I'm going to rewrite it. X squared minus 10x plus y squared plus 14y equals negative 70. Yours don't automatically come around. I don't know what you're talking about. That was all freehand. Alright, so we will have to complete the square for both the x and y terms because we have a b term for each. We have this one and this one. So that's definitely an indicator that we are going to have to complete the square twice rather than once, because in the previous one we only had to do it once. But now we definitely need to do it twice. So I'm going to do the x term first. and then we can do the y. We can kind of do them simultaneously. But if I'm doing the x term first, I'm going to take that b term, negative b over, so in this case negative 10 over 2, which is equal to negative 5. That's the x factors. And once you do this, again, I've mentioned, once you get really good at this, once you do this step, you know the x coordinate. Because if the factors are x minus 5, you flip the sign, that means the x coordinate is going to be positive 5. You still need to go through this process, though, because you got to figure out the radius. So negative b squared, which is plus 25. That's what you're going to add to both sides of the equation. Let's do the same thing with the y term before we kind of write all that in. Our yb term is 14, so it's going to be 14 divided by 2, which is 7. So x plus 7 are the factors. Means the y-coordinate is negative 7. And then do 7 squared to figure out what to add to both sides, which is 49. So we're going to add, we're adding 25 and 49 to both sides of the equation. Add 25 to the x terms, add 49 to the y terms. So it's going to look like this. I'm going to use different colors to represent where I'm adding them, because I am purposely placing them in the equation in a way where I can then factor them. So it's going to look like this. X squared minus 10x. I'm going to add 25 here. Then you just rewrite, y squared plus 14y plus, then you're going to add 49 here. Notice I don't combine them. Because, them added together would be 74, but you'll notice I'm not writing plus 74 at the end of this equation, because you want to be able to factor them. Which is negative 70, and then because you've added 25 and 49 to both sides of the equation, you got to make sure you do that to the right-hand side as well. The right-hand side you can absolutely combine. The right-hand side is going to be negative 70 plus 74, so it's going to be plus 4 on the right-hand side. But that is what you want to factor. You don't need to put those parentheses around it. I'm just using it to show you. Actually, I'll just highlight instead. You want to factor this and factor this separately. We already know what those factors are going to be. Negative 5, positive 7. So our factors are x minus 5 squared plus y plus 7 squared equals 4. And once you have your equation of the circle, you should be able to identify the center and the radius to this circle. The center is, don't forget to flip the signs, it's positive 5 and negative 7. Positive 5 and negative 7. And the radius is, don't forget to square root it. Square rooting 4 gives you 2. So it's a smaller circle. We're going to graph positive 5, negative 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's the center right there. Radius of 2. So that's easy. Up 2, down 2, all the way around. And then draw your circle. Even without it auto-correcting, that's a pretty good circle. And there is our circle. Smaller circles are better to do. They're a little bit easier. We'll see how the last one, what that one's going to look like. And then we'll see. These are also a lot harder to graph in a graphing calculator because graphing calculators want everything to be in y equals. So really the only way you're graphing these is by hand. Graphing them in a graphing calculator is a little bit challenging. Lines are easy. Parabolas are easy. Circles in a calculator are not. All right. Let's do the last one on this page. So like always, let's just see what we got in the order that we have it in. We have x squared and then a y term second. So I gotta have to do some rearranging. Then I have an x term. Definitely going to have to get this 41 on the other side. But look at the right-hand side of the equation. There's a y squared over here. We don't want that over here. So we're going to actually add y squared to both sides. So my first step is going to be add 41 to both sides and add y squared to both sides. I want to get rid of this y squared. So I'm just going to rewrite what I got. I got x squared minus 12y plus 4x plus y squared then equals 41. So I basically, the y went to the left-hand side, the 41 went to the right-hand side, and that's about it. Second thing I want to do. I want to make sure my x terms are first, and then the y terms are second. Because right now I have x and that 12. That 12 should not be right there. That 12 should come after the y squared. Oh, I definitely messed something up. Yes, it's 4x. Doesn't count. I caught it myself. X squared minus 12y plus 4x. I want that 4x to be with lies. X squared plus 4x first. So it's x squared plus 4x. Then I'm going to have the y squared term, so plus y squared minus 12y equals 41. Now it's ready to be to go through the completing the square process. We are going to have to do it twice, just like we did before, because there is a b term to the x, there's a b term to the y. So x term and y term. So the b term is 4 divided by 2. Like I said, it was one mistake that you guys caught. I caught that one. And then it's 2 squared, which is equal to 4. Same thing with the y. Negative 12 divided by 2, which is negative 6. And then negative 6 squared, which is positive 36. Then we're going to add 4 and 36 to both sides of the equation. So it's going to look something like this. Again, I'm going to use different colors just so you can see what I'm doing. So it's x squared plus 4x plus 4. Then it's plus y squared minus 12y plus 36 is equal to 41. And then the same two numbers you added on the left-hand side, which was 4 and 36. Plus 4 plus 36. Combine like terms on the right-hand side. Don't combine the 4 and 36 on the left-hand side. We're ready to factor. It's x plus 2. All right, there's that 2. So it's x plus 2 squared plus y minus 6 squared equals 41 plus 4 plus 36 is 45 plus 36, which is 81. Which is great. Whenever you get a perfect square on the right-hand side, that is awesome. So that tells me that the center is, I'm going to write it up here so it's easier to graph. Center is negative 2, positive 6. Negative 2 and positive 6. Flip those signs. So negative 2, positive 6. And the radius is, well, right now it's equal to 81. And then the radius is 9. Lies don't look good for you. I don't know what you're talking about. Radius of 9 is going to be... actually, I think this is going to be a little outside the circle. This one's going to be tough to graph. Not outside the circle, but outside the graph that we have. Because the first thing we need to do is definitely graph that center, which is -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have to do a radius of 9. You have to go 9 units above, which you're not going to have enough room. But you should have enough to go left, right, and down. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one is definitely one that would be easier with a compass. Because there's another 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 there. I definitely don't have enough to go up. So I'm going to just try my best. I'll take it. All right. That's a pretty good circle. And that's the equation of the circle completing square. That's everything for... Could you zoom out quick? Yes. I mean, that's all the practice that I had for here, which wasn't really a lot of examples. I do wish I had a little bit more. That's why I don't mind maybe doing maybe 1 or 2 from the homework, which I'm fine with, because we have about 12 minutes left, so we can do maybe 2 from the homework, which is good, because, you know, if you're tuning in, watching, you get 2 out of the way right now. And then that way on Thursday we can just pick up on proofs then, instead of, you know, trying to start them with our last 10 minutes. So Thursday and Friday we can do proofs 2 circles for the remainder of the week. And then we'll be done with circles, which is nice. You know, this has been a long unit. I know it's been a little bit longer because we're doing it remotely, but it's still been a long unit. So definitely want to review it and stuff like that. All right, let's flip over to the homework page. Like I said, we'll do 2 of them. And I know I did not give you a ton of room to do these. So definitely want to write small. As you get good with them, though, you probably don't need to write in as much. Because I doubt you guys are writing in the actual factoring part of it. You are doing some algebraic, you know, you're skipping some algebraic steps because you don't need to do every single step. And you don't necessarily need to show it. I mean, the goal is just find the radius and center of each of these. So I'm going to start with number 9. Because number 9 certainly looks like a mess. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 terms. So 8 terms, we got to know where to place each one. So first things first, just identify if the term is in the right spot or not. So this is fine. It's a y term. I know it shouldn't be next to x, but for now it's fine. We can rearrange it later. 9x is fine. This 7 is no good. So we're going to subtract 7 from both sides. This y squared is going to get added to both sides. This 5y is going to get added to both sides. And we're going to subtract 9x from both sides. Actually, maybe this one was even easier than I thought. So that's a lot that I just wrote in, but let's see what happens. So we have x squared. This positive 5y and this negative 5y just cancel. So I'm going to cross them out. So I'm going to cross things out so I know I've used them. The same thing happens with these 9s. They're gone as well. I've dealt with the 7s. And then you're just left with y squared. There's no b terms for either one of these. That's great. So I think that's going to make this one very, very easy. Then on the right-hand side we have, well, those are gone. Those are gone. Those are gone. And we do have to subtract 7 from 11, so we get 4. And you get this. X squared plus y squared equals 4. This is probably one of the most basic equations of a circle. There's no b terms. Therefore, the coordinates are 0, 0 for the center. I know you guys lost it. It's going right back up. So, we don't need to complete the square. The center is 0, 0. And the radius is, don't forget, you still have to square root it. You know, that's always true. So the radius is equal to 2. So maybe I should have chosen a different one, but I was not aware that that one was going to be as easy as it was. And we'll do one more. I think this one might be a little bit more challenging because there is a fraction. Wow, doing the easy one. Well, it was number 9. I thought it was going to be hard. I don't know. You can blame Gina. There you go. All right, number 10. So again, identify. So we don't have to do any rearranging, which is nice. Also, not surprised that we're not doing any rearranging. They're making it challenging enough by using some fractions. So that's fine. We don't need to move anything though. So we're going to start completing the square right away. So we're going to do it for the x term. I'm going to write a little bit smaller just so I have enough room. So the b term in front of the x is 1. So it's 1 over 2, which is just 1/2. And this is important, especially when we have fractions, to just kind of remember that these are going to be the factors. So the factors for the x are going to be x plus 1/2. Because you don't want to try to factor with fractions. It's kind of difficult. Then you have to square it still, which 1/2 squared, 1/2 times 1/2, is 1/4. Then we're going to do the same thing to the b term. Now the b term is a little weird because the b term is a fraction. So you have to cut in half 1/2. So what happens when you take 1/2 and then you divide it by 2? Well, if you cut something in half that's already cut in half, you now have a quarter. So it is negative 1/4. Then we need to square negative 1/4. And if I do it over here, negative 1/4 times negative 1/4. Some people like to see it like this. 1 times 1 is 1 in the top. 4 times 4 is going to be 16 in the bottom. So it is 1 positive 1/16. I'm going to highlight this too. So let's write all this out, just like we normally would. So it's x squared plus x plus 1/4 plus y squared minus 1/2 y plus 1/16 is equal to, and then you have this fraction, 61 over 16, and then you have to add a quarter and 1 over 16. Quarantine took a big hit on me? I guess so. Now, the factoring shouldn't be terribly difficult. Again, because we're utilizing the trick that those highlighted numbers up there are in fact the factors. So there's nothing to really figure out other than write, all right, the x, I'll write them in. it's x plus 1/2 squared plus y plus, oh, this one's going to be minus 1, y minus 1/4 squared equals, and this is where people really don't like the fractions, because you have 61 over 16 plus 1/4 plus 1 over 16. So before you're really ready to combine these, you can't just add them directly. You got to make sure you do have a common denominator, which in our case would be 16, because you have two of them already in 16, and making a 4 into a 16 is easy by multiplying both 4s here. So it would be 61 plus 16 plus 4 over 16 plus 1 over 16. Those are what we can add. So 61 plus 4 plus 1 is 66 over 16, which we could reduce to, is that 33 over 8? Just make sure I did that right. I think that's right. Yep. So that's going to be 33 over 8. Again, not the nicest answers. I will zoom out in just a bit, because I'm just about to write the final answer, because we have the equation of the circle, but the questions still in the directions say find the coordinates of the center and the radius of the circle. The equation of the circle is what you need to identify those things. You know, basically what we're doing is the step in, if you had y equals mx plus b and you have to take the equation and solve for y, that's kind of what we're doing. We need the equation in a form which we can actually read it in. And that's that form. So the center is negative 1/2, positive 1/4. The radius is a little weird. You still got to square root that, and that's not a good number to square root. So you can just leave it as the square root of 33 over 8. If you want to, you could plug into a calculator to figure out exactly what that is as a decimal. I don't know what it is going to be. It doesn't say you need to round or anything like that, so you can just leave it just like that. So you got, that one was definitely more challenging than the previous one, obviously. I figured ones with fractions would be a little bit more challenging. But usually you typically won't see them. And I think that's the only one with fractions on this page. I could be wrong, though. But we only got a minute left anyway. So that's a great spot to end. That gives you 8 questions that you'll need to do on your own. Again, this assignment's on Google Classroom. You can do it on a separate sheet of paper, and that's fine. This one's going to be a little harder to do in a Google Doc, just because of the nature of it. So I'd prefer you guys do it on a separate sheet of paper, take a picture of it, submit it through Google Classroom that way. All right. But yeah, we are all done. You guys have a nice day. And remember, I'll see you on Thursday. All right. So no stream tomorrow. And then message me if you have any questions. All right. Have a good one.